afternoon. Good morning to you, Mr. Tony Kettle Kitchen. How you doing?
Good morning.
Welcome to Brew with Blue. And he's got his brew. Perfect.
Good day, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. I am doing good, actually. I really, really
Good.
am. I've just had a whole day where I've just poodled along and done nothing. Absolutely nothing. So it's fun. So who have we got in chat today? We've got Rebecca, Suburban Hillbilly. Hello, my darling. I'll be listening behind on a few things today. We'll join as soon as I get caught up on a few things. No worries, hon. You do you. All good. And Annette, our urban homestead, has come in. Good evening, all. Good evening, sweetheart. Hey, Blue and Tony.
Hello, hello.
Hello. So today we're going to have... No, I actually thought of a theme. Ta-da! Okay, so those of us up in the Northern Hemisphere, it's rather warm.
Yes.
Rather warm. And there's, coming from the Southern Hemisphere, I'm used to it being a lot hotter than it is here now. But people up here tend not to be. And in the UK, they tend not to be very able to cope with the weather. They're not really taught how to do it. Whereas, we learnt as kids and had it rammed home to us in several different directions. One of which I'm going to show you guys. But I'm going to show you the updated version, not the version we had as kids. Okay, and there is a reason for that. All right, so...
Back in school.
Yeah. Because they've actually added to it. Now, when we were kids, there was an ad that was put on TV in 1981 called Slip, Slop, Slap. And we had to... And it was... The character in it was Sid the Seagull. And he taught us to slip on a shirt, slap on some sunscreen, slap on some sunscreen and slap on a hat. They were our safety rules. And we learned that song. Every kid our age knows that song, and every adult now, it's in their head. It's just muscle memory because it was on every single day, several times a day, So they've done an updated version, which I would like to share with you guys.
Ooh, you have show and tell.
Share it with you. Screen. Okay. And I'm really hoping we don't get in lots of trouble for this, but I don't think we will, to be fair. Okay. So... This is the SunSmart Sid the Seagull video, the updated version put out by SunSmart Victoria in Australia.
Slop, slap, seek and slide, have fun outside, but don't get fried. Slip on a shirt, slop on sunscreen, slap on a hat, 6 shade, slide on sunnies, simple as that. Slip, slop, slap, seek and slide, have fun outside, but don't get fried. Slip, slop, slap, seek and slide.
There we go. See? Kids everywhere in Australia know that.
Yes.
They absolutely know that. And I remember that commercial. Yep. See? So we know it. We know it off by heart. It's been rammed home to us all the time. But funnily here, even though summer occurs once a year, people here
all year long.
Don't get it. They still don't take it very, very seriously. And then all of a sudden there are temperatures they're not used to, because the summer temperatures here are between like 24 and 26, maybe. Celsius. Mm-hmm. It's about 75 to 78. Okay. And the houses here are built for winter. They are fully insulated, double brick where possible, and like I said, fully insulated and with no air conditioning. There is actually a thing going around at the moment where they are discussing the possibly changing the laws of building houses now, because the temperatures are rising and we are getting a lot more issues when it comes to summer, where new houses may have to be built with air conditioning as a standard, which I'm good with on one point of view. Yes, very necessary. But on the other point of view, there is a cost of living crisis and people are paying the kinds of electric prices that are putting them into major forms of poverty. And we don't want, them not to be using these things because they can't afford to have them on. So in conjunction with that, I think a lot of councils now, especially when it comes to government housing, etc., they're looking to swap out normal electric onto solar as much as possible. We have it in this building, so we're really lucky. And my sister has just had hers updated up in Scotland. They've swapped her because her house is fully electric. There's no gas or anything there, so they've put solar panels on her roof as well, so that makes life that much easier.
Right.
So we'll just see how we go with that, but it's something to keep an eye on, and hopefully it'll do some good over here, because that's a really good step in the right direction. Because a lot of shops, like what we do in Australia is we go to the shopping mall to survive. If we don't have aircon, we go to the mall, and it's all really cool, and you've got their free air conditioning. You can go out, go and get a brew or a cold drink or an ice cream or whatever. You don't have to go and spend a lot of money. You just go and sit there and just enjoy their air conditioning.
Right.
Whereas here, what they do is they drop the heating down to 4 degrees. 4 degrees Celsius, which is 39, okay? Fahrenheit, for those who need it. They turn it down to 4 degrees, and their logic is, okay, this is the logic, because I've actually asked someone about this, and it was a store manager, and I said, why is the heating on? Oh, that's to keep the store cool, because we don't have air conditioning. And then when you do realize that you've just added 4 degrees to the store temperature, oh no, we didn't. Oh, that's not how it works. It's kind of, and I was like, no, really? I said, you go walk through those doors and you tell me what happens.
Right.
And then they do, and they're like, oh, okay, we're going to go turn it off. But it's like, seriously, you don't put those two things together.
They think that they have it at a cooler temperature, so it's got to be cooler in the store. And it's like, you're just adding additional heat to the store.
I'm just like, oh, gosh, okay, lovely. We have a seeker in the house. Hello, my sweetie. I hope you're feeling lots better. And we have a Tiffanino from Mud and Mustard. Hey, guys, just wanted to pop in and say hi, finishing the deck today. Love you all. Have a great day. And Rochelle, Brampton Gardener. Morning, peeps. How's it going? It's going good, hon. How you doing?
Hello.
So what we're going to be looking at are some of the rules and regulations and the advice that's given by certain professionals, like frontline workers and stuff, to do with safety on hot days. Okay. And we're going to, in between the heavy stuff, because we are going to get into some pretty heavy stuff. And I'm not going to apologize for that, because this stuff, some of it has to be said. Okay. Um, and between that, we're going to look at some not so heavy duty stuff that you can do at home and stuff that it's a lot easier and cheaper that you can do at home to make life a little bit more comfortable. Comfortable. Oh, Rebecca, listening, making an omelette. I forgot to eat anything yesterday. Honey. Oh, thank you for the sub, Venice IT. Welcome in. I have a feeling that was Brampton Gardner.
I'm going to go with you're probably right.
So hopefully your sub count has changed.
Yep.
I looked at it earlier and it was 666 and my brain just went, no!
Yep.
Oh, no. Yeah, so I was like, no, not having that. Thank you very much. We got enough weirdness that goes on live here. Okay, so Seeker says, not feeling too good off to bed, but thanks for asking. Oh, sweetheart, take it easy, will you?
See you later.
You know where I am. You know how to get hold of me. Okay, just take it easy. We're all thinking of you.
Yep.
Okay, so I thought we'd start off with, because I've got Tony here so he can give us the US point of view on some of these points. Okay.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome. You're my prop.
Okay, I've been called worse, so.
So, we're going to look at, so gets hot. The first thing we want to do is go outside and start cooking barbecue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, one of the big issues that we have over here is that everywhere you can buy disposable barbecues, which are basically like a turkey roasting foil container,
right,
with really awful petroleum-filled charcoal briquettes. It's not nice with a little kind of grill thing on it. They don't get to the right temperature. They're not safe really for use, but they have been causing major issues with fires. Now, not only in parks and on beaches, but in public bins because people aren't putting them away, on people's balconies in apartment buildings because they're putting them on plastic tables. You know, it's, yeah. So I thought we could kick off with talking fire safety. Should we do that?
Sure, why not?
And how to have a barbecue without burning your house to the ground. And everybody else's.
Don't use the portable temporary throwaway ones. That's how you do it.
Don't use that for a start would be a good idea. Because, I mean, I have yet to find a disposable one that actually has lumpwood charcoal. Now, if you are going to have a barbecue, you want to have lumpwood charcoal. Those briquette things, the little round ones, they're made of charcoal dust, and they're held together with fire starters.
Right.
Those nasty, stinky... Hang on a second. I've got a Tanny calling. Hang on a sec.
Oh.
Hi, honey. Don't swear, you're live. I'm doing my live, darling.
I know.
Well, I did tell you this morning.
No, you did not tell me this morning.
It's Friday. It's 4 o'clock.
What you said to me this morning is, what do you want your back on?
Okay. Are you okay? Are you alive? You're not dead?
My body's missing. I've been in a crack.
You what? Oh, you. I love you. Bye.
Right.
Good God. And that, my friends, is why Tanny doesn't come on lives.
That's funny.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So there are a few things that you need to know about the disposable barbecues if you are intent on using them. Number one, you need to have them off the ground. He's gone. He's gone dark.
Back.
There. You have to have them off the ground, or you have to have them on something that will keep them off the grass, especially dry grass. So things like stones, a metal top table, or a picnic table, if there are any. But what I would say about that is most of them are actually wood tables, and the heat is charcoal's going through that very thin foil is going to burn a hole in the table. So I really probably wouldn't do that either, because you could get done for criminal damage. I'm just saying, okay?
Yeah, here's the thing that strikes me as odd.
Yeah.
If you're sitting in dry grass, you're not going to light the dry grass on fire without fear of it catching on fire.
Yeah.
So a disposable barbecuer that has very thin metal, what do you think you're doing to said grass or wood or paper or whatever underneath it?
I know, right?
It really comes down to what most of us consider common sense.
It really does.
But that being said, obviously there's a need for the conversation. So
absolutely. See, one of the really cool things in Australia is that they actually have electric barbecues that are there for public use. And you press the little button and it's got a little hot plate. And as long as you leave it clean for the next people, you're all good. And anyone can use them. Yeah. So that's a really cool idea to me. That's brilliant. I just wish more parks and stuff would have that. Unfortunately, over here we have quite a vandalism issue. So I'm pretty sure that they would get vandalized pretty quick, to be fair.
Yeah.
But in certain areas it might be really good to have them, especially places that are more public, because people are less likely to do things like that. So down where the seaside is, say, for example, Scarborough, it would be a good idea to have things like that where people could use them, because it's down at the beach. Everyone can use them. There's parks and rec areas down there and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, but the other thing is as well, for the price of 4 of those disposable ones, you can get yourself a portable hibachi grill.
Right.
And you've got it for life as long as you look after it. So there's nothing wrong with having like a little portable barbecue that comes with you that costs, like I said, four times the cost of one of the big barbecues. Okay, so they've got small ones. They've got ones that are the size of an A4 sheet of paper with about 6 briquettes in it, because that's going to do a lot, unless you want to.
What a waste.
But by the time it's got to temperature, there's nothing left. Let's be fair.
Right.
Or you can get the one that's 3 times that size, and but again, for the cost of 4 of those, and if you're going to festivals and events or going out on picnics and stuff, it's worthwhile investing in something that's a little bit more stable. And the little hibachi grills have legs on them, little legs to sit on a table. There's safety use on tables like picnic tables, etc., because they are off the actual wood in the area. If you do need to use it on the ground, it's off the grass, all of that kind of stuff. And if all you have is plastic picnic table on your balcony, then it's off that as well. But you still need to keep an eye on it. So I would have something like a glass cutting board or something underneath it, just to give it that little bit of extra security.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a much safer way of looking at it, because last year there were huge fires that occurred over here. People lost their homes because of these. They weren't put away properly. Different councils spent hundreds of thousands of pounds replacing public bins because people weren't putting them out properly. And that's been the other issue, is people just dumping them straight into the bin, thinking that's okay. Well, most garbage bins that you find public are made of plastic. And so's the stuff that's in them. Paper and plastic. So the first thing that's going to do is going to go woomph.
Right.
You know? So having the right things available to put that barbecue out is really important too. Now, if you're at the beach, you've got a beach full of sand. Have a small bucket of sand available to smother your fire. That's, you know, probably the best way of looking at it if you're there. But also you've got water. So you want to have like a bowl or a bucket of water or sand with you if you are going to be barbecuing anywhere. You know,
it goes back to what we were saying. When you go to common sense, do you know how many fires happen and really cause a lot of damage on the beach?
Yeah.
Because you don't think of the sand and the water as putting out something.
No, and that's the other thing, is that sand is made of silica. Predominantly it's silica, and that's what they make glass out of.
Mm-hmm.
And because sand melts at certain temperatures to become glass.
Right.
So if you've got a open barbecue on the ground on the sand soaks up that heat, loves that heat, and the next person that comes along, that sand may not actually have cooled down by the time you've left.
Yep.
And they could end up with 3rd-degree burns, or an animal could.
Yep.
You know, God forbid a kid did, you know. So try and use your noggin, eh? Because it's not that hard to think, you know.
Lynn the Yoki has joined us.
Yay, Lynn Yoki. Hello, darling. How are you? Rochelle says a lot of parks here, you're not allowed to use a charcoal barbecue unless it has a pit for it. But we bring a propane grill. And people are idiots. Yes, they are. She also says the kind of heat necessary to transform sand into a liquid state eventually becomes glass is much hotter than any southern day. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I get that. But it does hold its heat. There's a reason for it. You know, that's the reason that I'm saying for it. I'm not saying that it's going to turn into glass underneath your barbecue. What I am saying is it will hold the heat a lot hotter than the ambient temperature of the sand around it. And in that spot, you could end up with someone getting in trouble if they stood on it, put their hand on it, or sat on it. You know? To make sand melt, you need heat to roughly 1,700 degrees Celsius, 3,090 Fahrenheit, which is approximately the same temperature as a space shuttle reaches as it re-enters Earth's atmosphere. Yes. However, lightning hitting a lightning rod that is stuck in the sand, you will call out a glass sculpture.
You are correct.
It's not that hot. It's just the force of the electricity hitting that rod. But that doesn't reach those temperatures. It just shocks it to an extent. But what I've been saying is that it is an issue. Blue, all your points are very good. However, I'm wondering why the people of this world are so unable to think that this is necessary. Hopefully you will educate someone. Well, I'm really hoping so, because at the moment the fire brigades are being pulled out on little park fires and barbecue fires and stuff all over the place. And if they're busy doing those, they can't be where they're needed. Really, really needed. Like if someone's house goes up or something like that, or a school or something like that, and they're busy putting out these little tiny little fires that could be very easily avoided. So that's one of the reasons that I'm talking about this today. So yes, it can, Michelle. It can. Anywho, it's all good.
Well, and the other part of it goes too. I mean, it just backs up what you're saying.
Yeah.
When you look at, I'm not going to pinpoint one specific thing, but just look at forest fires and things like that, or sides of the roads being on fire. 99% of the time, that's from somebody misusing a fireplace or fire pit or barbecue, or somebody throwing a cigarette out, or their car is not up to safety standards. They're dragging the muffler on the ground. It sparks off and lights off the grass on the side of the road, and now you've lost
Absolutely.
100,000 acres. It's not intent. Not everything we're saying is human intentional error,
No.
but majority of it is human error and not using common sense. Majority of it. So
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing. I'm providing
I
info.
see.
No, I get that, darling. I get it. It's all good. So yeah. So the fire brigade have said, please don't use them. They aren't safe. They're not fire safe. We would prefer that if you used either a gas barbecue or a proper charcoal barbecue, but if you do, have a bucket of sand and water available so that you can, put the fires out properly. If you are putting it out, don't put it out at least an hour before you're going anywhere.
Yeah.
Because if you are going to leave it there in the bins, it needs to go out properly. And just because you've chucked some water on it or chucked some sand on it doesn't mean that the heat's gone out of it. So you need to do that. Okay. In summer here, this is Annette, here in Perth, Australia, a lot of fires are started by firebugs, and even volunteer firefighters have caught lighting fires. Yeah, no, I've seen that.
Yep. But again, we're talking about it. It's human error.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I set our pine straw on fire once just by hitting a small metal hooks with the lawnmower. Doesn't take much. Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, no, it really, really doesn't. It doesn't. It could be as much as a kid with a magnifying glass trying to fry some ants.
Yep.
Because, we all know someone who's done it or have tried it ourselves when we were vile scroats of kids,
My name's Tony Shepard. I am a recovering magnifier myself.
I did it because my cousins put me on a fire ant nest with honey on my feet after I'd been growing up in Australia. Had no idea, and I hated ants ever since. Yeah. So I took my anger out on them because I was in hospital for nearly 3 months. So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was bad.
Rochelle makes a very valid point about lawnmowers.
And let your lawnmower cool down before you store it back in the shed or garage. Any power tools. Yeah, absolutely. Any power tools. Okay, lunchtime. Talk to you later. Okay, babe. There was a big fire here from cars parking in a car parking lot at a lavender farm. The heat from the engines on the dry grass. Woof. Yeah. That's it. That's the thing. Yep. And that's the subject that we're actually going to get onto in a little bit. What I do want to do is say, cooking during the summer, there's nothing wrong with it. And there's nothing wrong with going out in your backyard and having a little bit of a barbecue, or if you've got a balcony and you've got a little hibachi type grill that you want to do that on, that's fine, because the last thing you want to be doing is heating up your house even more. If you're living in an insulated double brick house that is built for winter like we are, you don't want to be heating up your house at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the hottest part of the day is 4.
Sister, I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be double bricked and double insulated and stacked to the hilt to heat
it really
up a house.
Doesn't. Yeah. But, so one of the things that I do is I cook first thing in the morning, and I do that between 4 and 8 in the morning. That way the house has time to cool back down again before the heat of the day really kicks in. Mm-hmm. And I get all the heavy duty cooking done in those 4 hours. After that, You're having salad. Deal with it.
Salad or cold sandwiches.
It ain't happening after that, you know.
Well, here's the reality of it. Okay, a
Yeah.
lot of what people don't realize. Most of us, on a general sense, yes, we'll have something that we drink, but we're not sitting there doing it to hydrate ourselves. We're
No.
doing it because you got a thirst, you got to quench that thirst, you got to do
Yes.
whatever it is, but it's not there to rehydrate yourself.
Yeah.
Even sitting in a 75 to 80-degree house for 2 hours, thinking it's cooler inside than it is outside, you're dehydrating yourself.
Apologies for the bike going past. I live near a main road, and I am not having the windows shut today. It ain't
For
happening.
exactly this reason we're
It's
talking
not
about.
happening.
Yeah. My point is it's about hydrating yourself too, because
Yes,
if you don't, you're going to cause yourself problems as well.
absolutely. So, ambulance service. I rang up St. John's ambulance service, which are the ones that tend to go to. They're run by volunteers. It's the volunteer ambulance. They tend to be the ones that are at concerts and events and stuff like that, all of that kind of stuff to free up
Right.
the other ambos. And they're the ones who are on site to deal with things with like heat exhaustion and sunstroke and all of that kind of stuff. So Lynn wants to know where I live. Okay, so I live in York in the UK, but I grew up well, I'm originally from Australia, but I've kind of bounced back and forth most of my life because I've got I had two parents. I had one of each. One was
Mm-hmm.
Welsh and one was an Aussie. So we did both. So I spent like
Have you ever
a couple of years here, you know.
have you ever heard of the term the Great American, not American, but the Great Melting Pot? She is the epitome of a melting
I am
pot.
the melting pot. Yeah, that's me. So, you know, I don't think I've ever lived in either country for longer than about 5 years on the trot. So it's like I'm almost getting itchy feet at this point because I haven't been back to Australia in 5 years.
Oh no, you're planting roots. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. You know, but you know, you never know what's going to happen around the corner, you know.
Annette says she claims you as an Aussie.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I am.
It's confusing. I'll go to tell some of the kids that they'll hear Blue in a conversation. Where's she from? And I'll say, well, she's actually from Australia, and they're like, oh, okay. I said, but she lives in England, and they're like, huh?
Yeah, I know, right? I get it all the time, and it's like, well, sorry, buddy, I've probably paid more taxes over here than you ever have, you know.
Yeah.
So get over yourself, keep walking. Okay, so St. John's Ambulance, they say that there's 6 ways to spot heat stroke. One is headache, dizziness, and discomfort. 2 is restlessness and confusion. So if someone's not really focusing properly. 3, they're hot flushed and dry skin. 4 is a fast deterioration in the level of response. So if someone's not really responding to you properly and they're kind of out of it and like, you know, not really with it, and they kind of look a bit drunk or like they've had a bit of a spliff, like a special cigarette, and they're not quite with it, you know, it could be heat stroke, especially if it's the other things, okay? Number 5 is a full bounding pulse and body temperature over 40 degrees C or 104 Celsius. Okay. Rebecca says, me too. Dad's family is Scots-Irish. Wow. Mum's family is Cherokee, Blackfoot, and Malujan. Is that it? Did I say that right, or have I just butchered something?
I actually have only
head or something on my bed. What?
Oh my Lord! Oh, I've only heard the word. I've never seen it spelt, so I can't be honest with you about that.
Nobody knows about
Nobody knows about. There you go.
religions unless you grew up in
And
the
you butchered
Appalachian
it, she
Mountains.
said.
Okay, butchered. Lol. Thanks. Sorry.
That
It's
is
the first
fun.
time I've ever seen the word. So, at some point, just let me know how to do it properly. Okay, so what do you do if someone
Just
does
for
have...
clarification, I got to step back a half second. We went to. I'm going backwards. So we talked about something that neither of us had ever seen written before. So that was
Yes,
confusing. Were you talking about wacky stuff when you were referring to whatever, however it was you just put that number 4, I think?
yeah,
Okay, just making sure. Okay.
yeah. Oh, number 4. A fast deterioration in the level of response.
Yes. And you
Yes.
had brought up like if they were doing that, it would
Yeah.
be the. Okay, I'm just making sure. Go ahead. Go on.
Yep. Milungen.
Melange.
Milungen? Is that right?
Well, according to the way she just spelled it, that's how I'd pronounce it.
Okay.
Milungen.
Milungen. Okay. All right.
Oh, thumbs up. So you did it right.
Yay! Sounds like you were a term my cousin said a lot, the term military brat without your parents being military. Funny thing about that is my
That's
dad was
interesting.
very military, but the time I came along, he retired from the Corps, and when he retired, he was one of the assistant secretaries for defense in Australia. So he wasn't moving anywhere because he was now working in the actual DOD itself. So, kind of like a military
Hence,
brat, but
we have this byproduct of mom and dad who happens to be technically a military brat without being a military brat.
yeah, I was adopted by my grandparents. So at the point that they had that I came along, they were ready for retirement. So I just followed them. I was an extra piece of carry-on baggage.
Oh my Lord.
So they just dragged me everywhere they wanted to go in the world, which was fine, which was great, let me tell you, because there's places that I would never have seen without it and experiences I would never have had without them. So, I'm good with that. The only problem is it's given me itchy feet, and every few years I feel like I have to go back and forth.
Yes.
Eventually, I'm going to have to pick a spot and stay in it. But, Eventually. We'll just have to see what happens. Hey, Janice, where to begin homestead is in the house. Okay.
I think the other thing to get back on track of where you were,
Yeah.
I think part of what we don't take, it really comes down to, we've already said human error, and that will be a standing process through this. Not thinking out your methodology of how you're going to approach your cooking in the heat of a day. Okay.
Yeah.
Just plan it out. Think about it. It's common sense. It's not overwhelming. There's nothing, you don't need any fancy tools to make sure you're hydrated. Let's be honest. You don't need any fancy tools to figure out how to play out your meal for a day so that you're not overheating yourself or your family.
Absolutely. Because a lot of prep work can end up being overheating you as well.
Right.
When I was working as a chef, okay, we used to have to do that in Australia. And they were air-conditioned kitchens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but there was one place that I went to work in where the air conditioning broke on the opening night.
Of course. Why wouldn't it?
And we had 200 people booked in over 2 seatings.
Mm-hmm.
The kitchen got to 56 degrees Fahrenheit, to 56 degrees Celsius. And I'll tell you what that is in Fahrenheit. That's 132.8. Now, if you're working as a chef, you are not allowed to strip off and have bare arms and be wearing a bikini in the kitchen because it ain't safe. And it ain't food safe.
And some people flat out just don't want to see it.
And yeah, flat out, there are people that I was working with that I did not want to see that ever. Okay, that would have given me friggin' nightmares for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I agree.
So what we had were empty wine bottles filled with water. And we had someone who was brought in who wasn't supposed to work till the next day to constantly keep every staff member's bottle topped up with cold water.
Yeah,
That was their full-time job for that whole night. And every 20 minutes, we were told to take a break, take 5 minutes, go outside. Because we were overheating in like 20 minutes, we were overheating to a point of heat exhaustion. So we'd have to go outside, cool off, or stand in the cool room.
Right. Which, you got to kind of watch that too. I mean, there's a flip side to doing that.
Yes.
But just for the conversation you're having right now, I get it, and I'll move on past it. So
absolutely, so you can get extremely hot just in a small space that you are just prepping in, let alone if you've got the cookers going, the ovens going, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you need to be careful.
Here's sorry,
It's okay.
Keep interrupting you. Here's the thought process I have stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Think of it, in the middle of a house, you have a linen closet or a coat closet, okay?
Yes.
It's 110 degrees outside, which means your house, without air conditioning or a fan system of some sort, is probably hotter than that.
Yes.
You, who are cool as a cucumber, decide you're going to go clean out your closet.
Yeah.
I will guarantee you, within a half hour, you are dripping sweat, which means you're exhausting or expelling all of the moisture in your body.
Yes.
You're now creating your body to go into a heat over mode, and it's 100 and some odd degrees within your house. What is the common sense thought process that's going to happen? You're not going to last like that much longer.
No.
So you take precautions to make sure, okay, you do 10, 15 minutes worth of work, and then you stop, give yourself a break, get rehydrated, cool off, and then you can come back to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The expelling of sweat is the burn off of excess things within your body that are trying to emergently cool your system down. That's what it's from. So
that's
if you're not,
it's your personal air conditioning system. You expel and you sweat because your body is trying to do what it can to cool you off as fast as possible. And that way is to try and drown you in your own sweat.
Yes, because it's trying to cool you down.
Yeah. So as much as we liked wearing deodorants and stuff like that, in the heat of summer, you're better off just having a wash.
But to follow up what I'm saying, though, is it's just like your air conditioner. If it doesn't require water going into the system, it requires power. If you're not stopping long enough to give yourself that, so that your natural air conditioner can work, it's going to get clogged up, it's going to shut down, and it's not going to work, and you're going to have problems. That's the best way to put it.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. And it's you've got to look after you at the bottom line. So what's this? Annette says Christmas 2021 our aircon died. She's in Australia, for everybody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
And their summer is Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay. We were getting temps of over 40 degrees Celsius. So you're looking at 104 and above. And it was dreadful. Yeah, no, I hear you, honey.
Nope.
I hear you, honey. Rebecca says, totally understand. I worked in many restaurants, spent many years working for Cracker Barrel. It was also very difficult going between cool dining rooms to blistering hot kitchen instantly, repeatedly. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, it is difficult, really difficult, because it's like, okay, so one of the things that you notice is if you ever do land in Australia, and I tend to, if I'm traveling there, I will go in what is spring over here, which is autumn over there, because I'm going from similar temperatures to similar temperatures, and that's the theory, right? So if I'm going to be staying there for any length of time, I would rather be there in their winter and then go into summer, so my body has a time to acclimatize to the different types of temperature. Because the temperatures there, as much as I'm used to hot temperatures, are very different type of heat to what we have here. You know, so you want to be there time. But even so, walking out of Brisbane Airport in the middle of May, I nearly died.
We did the same thing.
It was so hot, it was ridiculous, and it just hits you in the face. You've just walked into a wall of heat.
Yep.
Because you've gone from the air-conditioned airport, the air-conditioned airplane, and all of that, and you've walked straight outside, and the doors have opened, and it's like, and it literally takes your breath away. And that was coming into winter.
My grandma
that's the end of autumn, early winter. And it was like, what? You literally can't breathe properly because of the heat. And it's like, what the heck, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like here we've been having temperatures which are normal for us, which are around 20, 21, 22 Celsius. Okay. And that's normal for the early summer here. But all of a sudden it went up 15 degrees Celsius to 35. And like 32 and 35, and people just can't cope with heat because inside it's 15 to 20 degrees higher in the house than it is outside.
Yep.
I'm echoing.
I was like, what are you doing?
So it's difficult, but there are ways of doing it. There are ways of coping with it. Now, if you do see someone who is obviously showing signs of heat stroke, what you want to do is move them to a cool place and remove their outer clothing. Of course, if all they're wearing is a bikini, they've already removed their outer clothing. Don't be naughty. I'm just saying. You want to then call emergency services in your country. Now in Australia that would be 000. Here in the UK it's 999, and for you it's 911. Yeah. Okay. Now what I will say is this: if you're in a country that you don't know what the number is, those 3 numbers are also used on mobile services to connect you to local emergency services.
Yep.
Okay. So it's not as hard as you think. So yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay. It says sit the individual down and wrap them in a cool wet sheet. If there isn't a sheet available, fan them or sponge them down with cold water to keep them cool. If unavailable, use cold packs placed in the armpits and around the neck. I would say also put the feet in a bowl of room temperature water. Okay, I'm not saying cold water. Notice I'm not saying cold water. And I'm also not saying chuck them in the shower. Okay, because that's what we used to do as kids. Now, the problem with that is that people can go into hypothermic shock. And you don't want that to happen. Okay, so you don't want to do that. It's cool towels, cool cloths, cool sponges, but whatever it takes, but don't immerse them in cold straight away. Once their temperature seems to have gone back to normal, replace the wet sheet with a dry sheet. While waiting for help to arrive, keep checking their temperature as well as their breathing, pulse, and level of response. If they start getting hot again, repeat the cooling process to lower their temperature. Okay. Yeah, the seasons have been weird everywhere, and it's just odd. Suburban Hillbilly says, I've never had heat stroke once, treated for heat exhaustion once. Don't ever want to feel that misery again. Yeah, see, heat stroke and heat exhaustion are very, very similar things. Heat stroke, you're more likely to get if you've got sunburn, then heat exhaustion, which is more about the ambient temperature, it doesn't mean that you've got sunburn. So that's the only difference. It's not actually that much difference. Okay, so now there's two other things that they say, and there's stuff about treating sunburn. Now, the best way to not have sunburn is to wear a t-shirt to cover up. I know you don't want to because it's hot, but you know what? I don't want to ever be in hospital again where they could peel my back off in one sheet, because I've had that and I can do without that. Thank you very much. Where I had to be in a darkened room for 2 months because it was
No,
so
thank you.
bad, you know, and I was 12.
Yep.
I was 12. You know, no one wants that misery. No one wants to see anyone go through that. So, you know, and the doctors were able to peel my skin off in an entire sheet off my back.
Wow.
You know, because it was literally 3rd degree sunburn. You don't want that. So, you know, t-shirts, people. Listen to your mother. And not the one that covers themselves in coconut oil and goes out and just wears a piece of string with a little snot rag attached to it, okay? Because we're not listening to them, okay? We're not. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to look like a roast chicken at the end of the day, you know? I'll leave the roasting meat to actually what we're having for dinner, you know? I don't want to be, you know, people thinking that I look a bit like a pork roast on a spit. So, you know, I'm good, thanks. Yeah.
Again, it really comes back to just common sense. It really does.
It does come back to common sense. You know, also sunblock. If you're using sunscreen, it needs to be replaced every hour.
Yes.
Just because you got it on doesn't mean it's going to last all day. You need to replace it every hour. If you got factor 50, which is the highest rating one you can get, that is the one that you really need. And that's the one that's going to last you an hour.
Mm-hmm.
With kids, you want to put it on every half an hour because they're in and out of the water.
I was going to say, here we go by the rule of every time they come out of the water, they get it put back on.
Absolutely. And that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
That is the best way to go. Okay. So we want to do that. Lynn the Okie has had heat stroke. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun.
No.
She was in her teens when it happened. So, yeah, a lot of teenagers, a lot of young 20s, they all think they're bulletproof and they all think it's never going to happen to them. You know, and yet every time the sun comes out here, I watch a lobster parade. I watch all these little white snowflakes walk past. Okay. And then they come back on their way back and they all look like little lobsters that have just been cooked.
All I can visualize is a big snowstorm with like 20 Sebastians walking by.
Yeah, that's quite literally it. You got like the little snowflakes going past and then just dup, 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 dup. Yeah, it's awful. But see, the thing is that people don't realize that that is them cooking. And that's why I gave the analogy I did. Because to get that beautiful bronze color, what do you have to do? Baste yourself.
Yeah.
What do you do to a piece of meat when it's roasting? Baste it.
Butter bathing, you know, a little bit of seasoning.
Yeah. So you're coating yourself in coconut oil all day. What are you doing? Basting.
Oh, but I want that model look. I wonder how that would work for me. Would I get Sports Illustrated?
You'll get something.
No, it's not going to be Sports Illustrated.
I'll get a bucket, but you know.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Suburban Hillbilly says, just for giggles, back when I had the body for it, I had the most adorable black and white bathing suit. I tan rapidly, came home from this pool, went to shower, and I had a zebra torso all summer.
Yep.
That's it.
What happens?
Worked in a warehouse. Yeah, no, it's not good. It is nasty. So, yeah. Okay, so dehydration. Really, really, really important one, this, because it'll be a really big indicator of whether someone has heat stroke or heat exhaustion. Okay, they may complain of headaches and lightheadedness, dry mouth. You can see their lips cracking. Okay, or they'll have peeling bits on their lips.
Unleash the Kraken. Oh.
Yes, unleash the Kraken. And have muscle cramps, but the other thing is they won't be able to pee properly, and when they do, it's really, really dark. Really dark. And I mean orange to brown. And if it's brown, hospital immediately. Yep. There is nothing that you're going to be able to do at home to help them. They are going to need intravenous IV as fast as possible, because that's the only way you're going to get it into them.
And keep in mind, the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be for them to come out of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing is as well, when you're sweating as much as that, just because you're drinking water doesn't mean you're rehydrating.
Nope.
Because you need to add in the electrolytes. Now, the best way to do that, the cheapest way to do that, is get yourself some Celtic salt and take a grain of that every time you have a glass of water. A grain of that. Now, I don't have any Celtic salt at the moment. I'm waiting for payday, which is next Wednesday, so I can get some. But I've got the next best thing, which is Himalayan pink salt. And I just dab it on my finger, and I do that. And it will help. The water will actually break into your cells better that way than it will if it's just water, because otherwise it's in, it's out. It's in, it's out. Okay? So you want to keep that in mind. Okay.
You want to be humored for a second? Just something that crossed my mind. Do you remember the movie Grease 2?
Barely.
Okay. In that movie, they had a song called Reproduction. It was in biology class, right?
Okay.
I don't know if you even remember it, but it was reproduction, yada, yada, yada. Okay. I just got stuck in my head. Dehydration. Put your body to the test. Where does the water go? Those that have seen the movie and know the movie, they would understand what I'm saying. But that's okay. It got stuck in my head and I couldn't get it out. I apologize.
Oh, Janice says we had to keep an eye on our son growing up. Right, he would play so hard all day and not drink a lot, get headaches and sick, figured it out, kept popsicles, and had to make him drink every 30 minutes. Yeah. Rebecca, Epsom salt bath works as long as that person isn't in severe dehydration. It will help you if you're sort of feeling it after a heavy day, okay? But it won't do them any good on the inside, and that's where you need to get it into. It will help your skin. It will help you rehydrate to a degree, but you do need to get hydration inside your body as well as not just on your skin area, which is what that will do. Most of my life, I drank a lot of water and didn't drink pop. Yes, see, that's the thing. Okay, so there we've got to that. So, yeah, you really do want to keep an eye on that sort of thing. Now, if someone is in severe distress, very severe distress, this is, very, very severe. You have, okay, so I have a big word here to say, so please don't beat me up. Rhabdomyolysis. Rhabdomyolysis. It's a medical condition associated with heat stress and prolonged physical exertion. Rhabdo, which is the shortened version of it, causes the rapid breakdown, rupture, and death of muscle. When muscle tissue dies, electrolytes and large proteins are released into the bloodstream, which can cause irregular heart rhythms, seizures, and damage to the kidneys. Now, this is a major, major issue and tends to happen if people are left in cars.
Oh, the wonderful topic of discussion we're having today.
Yes. Okay. Now, this is a really, really important one. It is a really, really important one. In Australia, it's absolutely illegal to leave children or animals in a car. Period. Because in less than an hour, they can be like 45 minutes, they can be unhelpable. Okay. 60 minutes, it can be death. Even less than that, depending on the size of the child or the baby or the toddler or whatever. It's absolutely illegal. It's illegal to leave animals in the car as well for the same reason.
Yep.
Okay. Now, vets advise.
Here in Washington State, just so you know,
Yeah.
it is illegal to leave animals or children unattended in a vehicle for any amount of time.
Yes.
Doesn't mean people don't do it, but it's illegal.
Well, see, that's the same over there. Because in 10 minutes, that child or animal could be in deep distress and need the hospital immediately. Okay, so, and what people don't realize, it isn't actually the heat stroke that kills them or the heat exhaustion. It's the fact oh gosh, I had the word.
Yeah, you told me to, and now I'm trying to remember.
I told you what it was. What was the word, Tony?
It wasn't dehydration. It was
complete the opposite of heat.
Oh, hypothermia.
Hypothermia. It's hypothermic shock that will kill them.
Yes.
You know, so be aware of that. Over here, and I did speak to my brother-in-law about this. Now he works for Devon and Cornwall Police, and I needed to check the law with him and make sure that I knew exactly what I was talking about, because I wanted to give out the right information, because I don't want you guys coming back to me and saying, yeah, but Blue said I could break into the car. Okay. Now the law states this.
Good point. Sorry.
Yeah. If you find a child or an animal left unattended in a vehicle, you must call emergency services before you do anything. Okay? Before you do anything. Okay? If that child or animal is in distress already, be on the phone to emergency services. That means the police. Immediately, and be checking the vehicle for see if the car has an unlocked door or a window that's loose or anything like that. If there is a way to get into the vehicle without breaking a window, okay, but you need to be on the phone to the police, all right, immediately, because the police will organize ambulance and all of that kind of stuff all at the same time, right?
Yep.
So, but if there is no way in, you need to go to the opposite diagonal window from where the child or the animal is and break that as safely as you can to get them out. You cannot leave the scene. Okay, so you can't take the dog home. You can't take the child home. You have to stay at the scene till emergency services get there. Okay, you must stay with the vehicle and the victim. Now, if the parents arrive back or the owner arrives back and starts a confrontation, you say to them, I'm on the phone with the police right now. You want to talk to them? Because this child or this animal was in distress, and I've been standing here for like half an hour waiting for you.
I've only been gone for 5 minutes. There's no way possible that happened.
You weren't.
Yeah.
You know? Okay.
I'm with Suburban Hillbilly. I mean, I will, if it's not distressful, I am going to call. But if I know, I'm here to tell you, I already know where my brain would go. Yeah. And I'm not, don't anybody follow this is not advice. I'm just telling you where my mindset would be, okay? Yeah. I would break it and I'd gladly go to jail if that's what they want to do. As long as I know that the police are on the way, you now have attention to what is going on.
Yep.
And maybe you shouldn't have those kids or animals if you can't deal with this.
Yeah. Like, I know as a single parent, sometimes you got to take your kids to somewhere where you don't want to take them, you know, because you
Right.
can't leave them at home. They're too little, or they just can't be trusted. Let's be fair. They're kids and they're yours, and you know what they're like. Okay. You know, so, you know, they're mini yous. And if you would
Yes.
do it, they're going to do it. Okay.
Yes.
So, you know, get them some, you know, you got to take them with you because you want a house left by the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, you know, really important to, like, you need to be staying on the phone with emergency services, the emergencies call line when you are doing anything, because over here that you can be done for criminal damage if you have not called the police or if you have not got police permission to break into that vehicle to help that child or adult. It could be an adult, it could be a vulnerable adult, so it could be Nana in the car. Do you know what I mean? And if they haven't left the windows open, kind of thing. But yeah, be aware of that as well. So, you know, just keep an eye on what's going on, but keep yourself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in this country, 38 children died under the age of 2 last year left in cars. 78% of those were during a 2-week period, which is when we had our biggest heat waves. Okay. No one wants that to happen.
No.
No one wants that to happen. Not the parents, you know, not the families, not friends, not the people who have to find these kids, you know, or deal with it or anything like that. Okay. And it's always emergency services that will find them first, if not the parents. Because, like I said, you're always going to think it's okay. I'm all good. Not a problem. You know, I'm going to be gone for 5 minutes. But like I said to Tony earlier, you know, you got Sally who's just popped into the shop. You haven't seen her for 8 months. So you're standing there yipping for what you think is 5 minutes, 20 minutes tick by. You know, you've got, you know, Tom from down the road who's scraped up enough pennies to buy himself a couple of bits of food for the week, but all he's got is pennies and 2p pieces. So he's sitting there trying to count up his pennies to pay for some food. That's another 10, 15 minutes. Then you've got something else happen, something else happen, and something else happen. And all of a sudden, 45 minutes. You know? My sister had a scare with
and odds are, I don't even care if the temperature is only 80 degrees. Odds are in 45 minutes, whatever you left in the car is very, very seriously ill, if still alive.
Yes. Now
that's the reality of what we're talking about.
Yeah, the reality is that it, you know, after, even on a cloudy day at 19 degrees Celsius, which you wouldn't think would be very hot, okay? But even at 19 degrees Celsius, which is 66 degrees Fahrenheit, that car can go up to 20 degrees hotter on a cloudy day because it's basically an oven. It's metal and glass. It's metal and glass. And if a child has been left in that car for an hour, you will not be able to save them. That's the bottom line. And that's heavy, and I know it's heavy, but it has to be said, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
Right.
I know we have a laugh here, but we also tell the truth here, you know, and that's the bottom line, is that that child's organs will have already shut down by that point, and there will be no saving them.
And here in the United States, or at least here in Washington, you can be charged with murder or involuntary manslaughter or manslaughter, depending on how the jury and the judge and the prosecutor decide to go forward with it.
Yeah, so in Australia, it is murder.
Yeah.
There's no manslaughter to it. It's murder. You know the law. That child shouldn't be in that car unattended. You did it anyway. That's murder. That's premeditated in their eyes.
Yep. You had a couple of people show up. I just wanted you to catch before they pop out.
We do. Okay, sorry. Say. Hey, Scotty, how you doing, darling? Hope you're doing well. Rebecca says, I'll break a window and gladly go to jail. I'll call first. However, I will break a window. Think about direction. Glass will go. Yeah, that's why they say if the child is in the left-hand passenger back seat, go to the front right side to break the window. So you have the seat in between you and the child and the breaking glass. Okay, don't hit it so hard that the glass is going to fly everywhere. There are ways of breaking that glass without being ridiculous about it.
I think you explained it best earlier. Sorry. You were saying hi to Joe Fix It For You. Sorry. I think you said it best when you first said it. Diagonal, opposite side. Just remember that. Diagonal
Opposite side.
Yeah.
Yes, from wherever the person, child, animal is, diagonally opposite side. Okay, so if you've got the front right, if they're in the front right, you want to go to the back left. Okay, and vice versa. All of that kind of stuff. You guys figure it out. You're not dumb. Okay. I have driven to the next town for a vet appointment, took the dog home, and went back to another town to run errands. Priorities. That's cool. And please don't keep a baby doll that looks real in a car seat, in a real car seat in the car. Yes. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Can I just say those for real baby dolls creep me the hell out. I don't want one in the house. I don't like them. My friend collects them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's the creepiest thing on the planet, man.
Yep, I agree.
It really is. Oh. Jada says, my mum and I have fights about her staying in the vehicle. I tell her I can't take care of you from jail. You have to go inside. Yeah, you tell her.
Yep.
You tell her. You know, there are people in Australia that actually use their cars as solar ovens. And they do that at work, put bread dough or cakes or something on the back window and cook it while they're at work.
Yep.
You know, if a car is hot enough to cook a sourdough loaf on the back of your windscreen, can you imagine what that does to anything that's living inside of it? It's like...
Yep.
Yeah, people get so distracted with their phones, anything can happen in a split second. Absolutely can. Sorry about that. An Amber Alert popped up. Okay. Hang on. Suburban Hillbilly says, I got screamed at. I answered, the carrier is empty. My cat is at the vet getting spayed today. Assess the situation calmly before you react, even though it's hard to do. Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't, if you see a cat, like a animal carrier, don't assume that it's got anything in it. Go to the side where the door is and have a look.
Right.
Before. You know, obviously, if the cat carrier is moving, there's something in it, you know, or, you know, you will be able to see if there's something in it for the most part, if, you know, but if you are going to be leaving a cat carrier in the thing, which I would prefer that you didn't, because that's just me, and you could get in a lot of trouble for that, because they can't even escape. That's even worse. That's like an oven in an oven. They're going to get sicker doing that a lot quicker. You know, check the situation first before you start smashing windows. Ring the police.
Be concerned, not a Karen.
Yeah. Yes. You know, I really hate that saying.
Sorry.
I have a niece who's called Karen, who is one of the
I get it. I get
planet, it. You know? And I'm like, I adore her. I think, you know, people have, I understand that people want to pick a name and what have you, but can you think of all the actual Karens in the world who are called Karen. Their parents named them that, not because they thought they were going to be some kind of nosy kind of butthead, but you know, they, and then they get called that.
I get your point, but just be glad they're not called, and don't be a Pam or don't be a Tony. So,
Well, if you like me, I don't know. Although I will say this, God help your family.
yes.
Because one of me is enough.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, but those baby dolls that look real are collectibles. They are
Yeah.
collectibles, but you know what? There are better things to collect.
And they're still creepy.
They are, they're creepy. They are proper creepy. I've hated dolls since I was a child.
Yeah,
I have.
I get it.
My mother, because girl child, people buying new dolls all the time. I hated dolls. Hated them with a passion. I always thought they could talk to me. Hated them. Absolutely hated them. Every single one of my dolls, before I went to bed at night, used to have to face the wall so I didn't look at it.
Yep.
In the end, by the time I was about 5, I think my mother gave up trying to get me dolls.
Well, good. It finally worked.
Yeah. It finally worked, because it was like, no, I always got creeped out. And the reason that I got creeped out was my mother had a porcelain baby doll that she'd had since she was a child sitting on her bed.
Ugh.
And that thing, I'm telling you now, used to move.
Yep. I've heard that before.
It moved.
That's a whole nother conversation.
I'd seen it move, and I'd seen it when I was an adult.
Right.
Because obviously she'd always had it, and I'm like lying there in bed one morning trying to wake up, and she's made the bed. She's put the doll facing absolutely front forward, right? On her wardrobe. And her bed, you could bounce pennies off it and they jumped like 5 feet in the air. They were that tight. Okay. Her beds when she made them.
Wow.
She used to have it absolutely spot on every single time because she was severely OCD in that kind of way and had to be a specific way of doing it. She left the room. I'm lying there because I worked a night shift. I'm lying there and that doll's head turned and looked to me straight in the eye.
Oh, no, I'm good. No, thank you.
No, thank you. No, that's all I needed to know right there.
Yep.
No. And I always used to get the blame when the doll moved. And I was like, I haven't even been in your room. But, my mum being that OCD, it was kind of a good thing for when she really annoyed me and I wanted to get her out of my way for like 2 hours. I would go into the dining room where she had 2 dressers. Okay, she had a sideboard and a dresser. The dresser with the shelves and the things and okay. And she had all her beautiful things set up on it. I would move 20 degrees. She'd walk into that room and know that something had been moved out of joint. She'd strip the whole room down and redo it. That'd keep her busy for a full 4 to 6 hours. And out of my way. Well, I did what I had to do.
I love what Annie said. That's why I collect cookbooks.
Yeah, I know, right? That's why I collect books too, honey. I ain't have no dolls, thank you. Although I do have 1 doll. I have 2 dolls. But they are rag dolls. Very different. Very, very different. They're rag dolls. They are not made to look human.
Right.
They are what they are, but they're not. Yeah, no. And no. Just no. Suburban Hillbilly says, oh, the doll my mum has had. The one that opened its eyes, porcelain face, fabric body. No, just no. That thing randomly opened its eyes and not touched yet.
No.
No.
I'm good.
No. Oh, Momo. Is that Mimo or Momo? Okay, it's all good. Lynn says, I rather collect toy cars myself. Yeah, Hot Wheels, man, all the way.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But you know, anywho, the last thing I want to talk about is animals. Okay.
Continue talking. I have to use the bathroom. I'm sorry. So go ahead. I'll be right back.
Okay. So if you have to put shoes on to walk outside because it's too hot for your feet, don't take your dog for a walk. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Because that poor little baby is gonna its poor little pads are gonna rip right off. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see that. Hey, no, is that Ginger's in the house? Hello, darling. So, yeah. If it's too hot for your feet, it's too hot for the dog's feet, it's too hot for the cat's feet, don't be taking them for walks. Don't be letting the cat outside. Do you know what I mean? Because they're going to burn, their little pads burn. And that skin peels right off. It's awful. It's really awful. So just please don't do that. Just keep them cool the best way you can. If you've got to set up an area in your laundry or your bathroom or something where they can go to the bathroom, do that. And take them out for a walk when it gets cooler, either first thing in the morning, before 8 o'clock in the morning, or after 8, 9 at night. You know, do what you got to do, but to keep those pets safe because they need it too. Now, there's a lot of conflicting information. Now, I've contacted the RSPCA on this. Yes, dogs can go jumping around in the water, in the river, in the pond, on the beach, wherever, right? Okay, but once it's showing signs of heat exhaustion, do not immerse that animal in water because, again, it can get hypothermic shock and it won't recover. You want cold wet towels or cloths or whatever to bring their temperature down slowly and make sure that they can drink from where they're at. Even if you've got to hold the bowl for them, just keep them down on the ground where they're cooler, in the shade. Don't let them run around. Okay. You know, so I mean, like my kids. Hey, Raf, that's my darling sister. Okay, so my sister has just come home from the hospital with my little nephew, who we thought had heat exhaustion after sitting in the car waiting for her to come out of Tesco's. It's partly why we're having this conversation today. He was sitting in there with his dad, with the windows open, the doors open, all of that. Okay, because our little bean is he gets very overwhelmed because he's got autism, etc. With loud noises and shops and things. So they were being very careful and what have you. And then all of a sudden he was in the hospital overnight. They thought it was heat stroke, heat exhaustion. But it turns out this morning that it's actually quite severe tonsillitis. So they're home, which is awesome. You know?
That is good.
Yes, it is. He's awesome. So, yeah. He's my little bean. So, yeah. But I'm glad he's okay. I am glad he's okay. And Raf, you need to get some sleep, darling. I know you've been up all night. So yeah, and that goes for kids too. Okay, so I've always worn bare feet. I run around barefoot all the time. Okay, my feet are so used to it, I don't even think about it anymore. You know, but there are times when even my feet get hot. Okay.
Right.
When my youngest was little, he used to run out after me with bare feet. So I wouldn't think anything of it because he'd always done it. And this one time, he jumps up. So he jumps up. I'm doing something in the sink. He wants to play up on the sink, puts his feet in cold water, and he's just splashing around in the cold water. And it wasn't until about half an hour later that I realized he's actually burned his feet. And if I hadn't given him the opportunity to put his feet in that water, it would have been so much worse. As it was, he only ended up with pink feet, no blisters. But if I hadn't done that, he would have ended up with the blistering. So, you know, it's even as easy as that, you know, because little animals all go down really, really quick, and they can't tell you what's going on. And that's the scary thing with someone like, you know, my little bean over there. He can't tell anyone because he's nonverbal.
Right.
He can't tell you what's going on. He just knows he doesn't feel right, you know, so they've got to try and guess, you know, and it just is what it is. But so they thought it might have been heat stroke. But yeah, the ambulance crew told me that lots of children are having heat stroke. Hospital had some in when Alex was in. Yeah. So for those of you who want to see, because I asked Raf earlier, okay, I have a little picture of my little bean this morning. Bless his little tuttons, because he's adorabubbles. Okay. There he is this morning. Bless him. But, yeah, that's him just waking up this morning. She was ringing me up at like 6 o'clock. So, yeah. He's adorable little bean. I love him to pieces. But, yeah, we thought that he had heat exhaustion or something like that and just couldn't verbalize it after being in the car. They hadn't been in there for long. They'd been in there for 20 minutes. So it is possible that it could have been some form of heat exhaustion. But as it turned out, they did manage to get a look down his throat. And, yeah, it's tonsillitis. So that's actually a good thing. That's a win.
Yes.
So, yeah. Hi, Colleen. Welcome in, darling.
Hello.
Hello, darling. The heat made his temperature higher. Yeah, well, exactly. And he also has reverse diabetes. So he has, you know, had diabetes. It does its own things. Well, he has the exact opposite. So it makes it, he still gets sugar spikes and stuff if he gets sick. So it can still make him not very, very well. So, yeah. She said she's going to get some sleep as soon as he's asleep. Bless her. But yeah, so there's my little bean. He's adorable. Rebecca says I fostered a puppy that literally ran the pad off his feet on asphalt, running up and down the road looking for the car he got dumped out of. It took a long time, but the puppy ended up saved and adopted. Oh, bless him.
Cool.
Yeah. Congenital hyperinsulinism. That's basically what it is. Yeah. So it's the other way. So he produces too much insulin. You got diabetics don't produce the insulin. So yeah, he's got the other way around. So yeah. Lynn says she doesn't like going without shoes. I hate shoes. I've got one pair. I'm probably the only woman on the planet that only has one pair of shoes. Actually, that's a lie. I've got two pairs, but the other pair is so huge, and it's a work pair of boots, and I just can't be bothered putting them on.
Right.
So, yeah. I think we call that juvenile diabetes here. No, it's not. Juvenile diabetes is exactly what you think it is. It is diabetes. This is hyperinsulinism. It's completely different. It's when they produce too much insulin rather than the diabetes where they don't produce any at all, which is an issue. So yeah. So yeah, he has to be very, very careful. He isn't as bad as it was because the kids, if they're born with congenital hyperinsulinism, tend to grow out of it. which is a good thing, you know, because that's one less thing.
Right.
So not as bad as he was, but they still have to keep an eye on. Yeah. She said, oh, wow, I need to research that. Thanks. No worries, hon. No worries at all. So there we go, guys. Now, there are ways that you can actually keep yourself nice and cool in summer and keep your house a little bit more comfortable in these times, like the summer. One is have your windows open. But you don't want to have all the windows open because then you're as hot inside as you are outside. You're not getting any benefit from it.
Right.
You want to have a window open on one end of the house and another window at the other end of the house. Okay, so you create a wind tunnel so that you have the movement of the wind actually happening. Now, there is one way that you can help this. So if you have fans, you want if you have a little desk fan, okay, put it on the windowsill pointing out of a open window. Now, I know this sounds very odd, but the way that the fans work is they pull the air from behind them and push it forward. Okay, so you put it so it's facing out the open window. It's pulling that hot air out of the room and shoving it out the window as fast as you can. Then you want to get a pedestal fan, which you can pick up fairly cheaply. We picked up ours for like $20 or something. Okay, and instead of because some of the advice at the moment is just put a tray of ice on in front of it. That will not work. It will not work. I'm telling you right now, it won't work because again, fans draw the air from behind them, push it forward. Now, fan people will tell you not to do this because it might void your warranty, but I'm telling you, this is probably the best way forward unless you have a high shelf and don't put the fan on to oscillate. Okay, so if you have a shelf or something that is the same height as your fan, you can put the ice behind the fan so it actually draws the cold air over the ice and through the fan, pushing that into the room, so you have that at the opposite end of where you've got the fan pointing out of the room. Or you get some hair ties and some old pop bottles, soda bottles, plastic ones, fill them with cold water, stick them in the freezer, attach them to the back of your freezer, and then they will pull that air through. I mean, back of the fan.
Yeah.
Words, man. I'm getting heat here.
I don't think on the back of the freezer is going to help you too much.
Back of the fan, it will pull that cold air through those bottles and straight out the thing. And it works. It works. Okay, so that's a really good way. The other way as well is close your window. You'll close your curtains.
Right.
Now, a lot of people have Venetian blinds that are metal ones. Please be really careful with those. They hold the heat. That's like having one of those steel slides we had as kids to go down. You put your hand on that, it's got as much heat in it as one of them, and it will hold the heat. If I had those types of metal blinds, I would pull it right up to the top and put curtains over the front, just so that you weren't holding that heat, because then it's not able to, and radiate it out. But having curtains that have got some kind of blackout fabric, a white reflective blackout fabric on the back, is going to help you to reflect some of the sun back out, but also to cool off the room by keeping it shaded. So, I mean, they're just things that you can do off the top of my head. Right. You know what I mean?
Yep. I think the biggest thing, again, for me is common sense. Do your research. If it's something you're concerned about, follow through what you think is the best way to do it, but just use your head.
Absolutely. Yeah, Rebecca, you haven't lived until you fried your legs on a metal slide. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Oh, ain't that the truth? Oh, that is terrible. That I remember that. so hard. I remember that. We used to
Yeah,
go home and like our legs would be raw.
yes.
And I remember walking up from the park, and this one of my sister's neighbors used to have a mango tree that actually sort of went over the path, like the pavement. So we would go and collect mangoes on the way home and eat those and feel better for it. What we didn't know as children, because we instantly felt better and we just thought, oh, it's because we've got a mango, right? No. Do you know, this is why, okay, I used to buy a tray of mangoes every Christmas for my kids, okay? They've got a natural sedative in them.
Oh.
And there's more of it. The more you gnaw on the stone, the more of that sedative you get. So as kids, we would be coming back with raw legs after going down the metal slide, grabbing these mangoes, eating them all. We'd be giving ourselves a pain relief, and we didn't even realize we were doing it.
Right.
And it wasn't until like I was older and I was studying this stuff, and I was like, wait a minute. You know, so yeah. But there you go. So it's been a long one today, guys. I'm aware that Tanny came home about 40 minutes ago. He snuck in.
It's time to go then, my friend.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, the reason that I get mangoes for the kids at Christmas is I give them one on Christmas Eve so they'll go to sleep.
There you go.
And it's legal.
Yes.
No need to give the kids the Jim Beam, okay, on Christmas Eve to knock them out. Just give them a mango, send them out. Well, you know, it's hot up, it's cold up here, so maybe stick them in the bathroom with a mango, let them gnaw on it, and within about half an hour they'll be Sparko. Yep. Seriously, it's awesome. Yep. So, you know, it all works. But we're gonna go because I've kept Mr. Tony longer than I said I would. I'm sorry, but I did want to get all the information out because I feel like it's a really important subject.
Right.
You know, and I think people need, it's one that I want to do every year because I think it needs re-saying. I'm sorry, but the way that people are behaving right now, you know, it needs re-saying. So this is no one for this year. You won't see this again till next year.
Oh, that's funny.
But, so Auntie Blue has said, use your noggins.
Yep.
Put your damn fires out. Stop using disposable barbecues. Don't take your dogs for the walk if it's absolutely scorching out there. If it's too hot for you, it's too hot for the dog. You know?
And don't leave your animals or your kids unattended in vehicles.
Yeah, no leaving them in the cars, please, ever. Do not do it. Please don't do it. Absolutely not. Okay, guys, we are going to go.
All right.
I want to say thank you to Mr. Kettle Kitchen.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And giving me a hand with this one because I really do appreciate it. And thanks to everyone who's in chat. It's been awesome catching up with you guys. And we will see you. When will we see you?
I don't know. When will we see them again?
I don't know. Well, I'm definitely doing this on Friday next week, so you know. But it'll be
well. There you go then.
We'll say that, and I've got Craft and Chat on Thursday. We've got that, and there should be some videos coming out next week on both my channels. So this one and Wellness for Healthiness, there will be those first videos coming out on there. So be aware of that. I love you guys heaps. Right. Take it easy. Bye. Be good. Use your brain. I love you.